What is up, everyone? SnarkyUp here. We are starting the very first Podspiracy podcast talk show. Our first guest ever is Govio HD or Govio. He is on with us now. We cannot get his camera up right now, but you'll be able to hear him all day. And we're gonna go right into this. Govio, go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
Hi guys, I'm Govio, 18 years old, stream myself, also a competitive COD player, pretty much about it.
Awesome, man. I love Call of Duty too.
Hate to interrupt, but it says you're hosting Dave again.
It says I'm hosting right now.
Yeah, it says you're hosting Dave X90.
We'll give it a minute. Might have to redo that whole intro. Everything on my end says that I'm live right now. Kaz says he can see me. What's up, Kaz? Maybe try to refresh on your end.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Kaz, how's it going, brother?
There we go.
Alright. Just in case we missed that first part, we'll redo the intro here. What is up, everyone? SnarkyUp here. We are doing our first ever podcast, Podspiracy number 1, with Govio. He is not on the webcam, but he is with us. You'll hear him in the background, and we're just gonna let him introduce himself now. See what's up with him.
Alrighty, well, thank you for having me as your first guest. Appreciate it. Well, guys, I'm Govio HD. I'm 18 years old. I stream. I'm a competitive Call of Duty player, and yeah, I'm pretty much it.
Love it, man. I think that's where we got started together on Twitter too, is our mutual COD loveness.
Yeah.
But today we are talking about Mars and conspiracies and all that good stuff. So let's jump right into it. I think we are better off starting with the big planet to our north, south, east, west, whatever it is. Mars, the big red planet.
Yeah.
So everybody growing up knew about Martians. There's all these cartoons and everything, but we're gonna dig deep and talk about real life Mars, and if there's life, if there is going to be life, if there's ever life up there. So let's get into this. Is there anything that you want to get off your chest about Mars right now?
Right. All I gotta say is, it's like, this is a really, really fun topic. Like, it's a fun topic. You'll like learn a lot. It is just a theory, but it does get you thinking. Like, what if, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely, man. So the first thing I wanted to bring up here, so obviously Mars has some similarities to Earth, but there's a lot different with it. But the one big sign that there could be life, or there is life up there, is the fact we've recently found frozen water under the surface, which we thought previously was just a bunch of rock up there, I guess. But with all of our different explorations, people believe that there is actually frozen water under there. Are you with me so far? You believe all that?
Yeah.
That we actually have ice up on Mars?
Oh yeah. Well, in 2007, a satellite took a picture of Mars, of this like current looking figure on Mars. And in 2000, I think it was 2015, they took another picture, and the water that is said to be under the Mars surface has moved. It moved about I can't remember the distance, but it moved almost out of the satellite's camera frame in the span of 8 years.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, see, I knew about the water and the ice and everything from the different robots that they sent up there, and one of the more recent ones in the early 2000s, they had like jets on the bottom of it basically for it to land safer, because the first ever time that they really sent in robots up there, they basically used like a ball of airbags and then they just had it bounce around on the planet until it finally came to a stop. But they recently kind of added like little turbo boosts at the bottom of their robots so it could land safer, and they actually like charred up the dirt and noticed that there's ice underneath it, or what they believed was ice. And we know that organisms can live off water from basically just everything we know about Earth. So it's a very good possibility that you could argue that there's life in that water. But the question I have, it's frozen down there, or is it frozen all the way through? Like, I can't wait to find out more, and if you have any information on that.
The documentary that I watched with my grandmother, who actually got me into the conspiracy side, they said the first, I think it was 50 to 100 feet of water is flowing, and the rest of it is frozen, because at night Mars gets super cold, so that core would be colder than the surface.
Right, yeah, I heard about how freezing the temperatures are up there. I also looked into some stuff and found out that they believe approximately every like 5 million years Mars actually tilts its poles, and they think that it's like in the cold tilt right now, and that when it tilts back the other direction, it's actually going to get a lot warmer, and you could see a lot of that frozen water getting thawed out basically.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So I don't think they really have a good idea of when the last time that happened was, but they suggest that every 5 million years it happens. So maybe it's going to be in our lifetime, maybe it's not even close.
Yeah, we never know. The more secure way of knowing that we could possibly have a second Earth is the fact that real life astronauts and not astrophysicists. I can't remember the word for it.
Astronomers.
Yes, astronomers. They figured out that they can grow a lot of vegetables in Martian soil, like potatoes, carrots, beets, radishes, more vegetables than fruit, really. I think the only fruit that can be grown is watermelon, but wouldn't really call that a fruit.
Was that because they actually brought back soil samples from one of their Robots.
Yeah, they filled up. I think it was 24 cups, 24 paper cups, and filled them up with the Martian soil, and then planted seeds of different vegetables and fruits, and see what would grow and what wouldn't.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was 10 out of the 24 that grew successfully.
Hey, I'll take it. That's almost 50%.
Yeah.
iMan123 wants to say hi to you, Govio.
Oh, I say hi to him.
Isaac's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine too.
We all got that Call of Duty connection.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So we're just discussing Mars, Isaac. I don't know how long you've been here, but just life on Mars. What do you think past life? Do you think there used to be extraterrestrials up there, or any kind of life? Maybe a different kind of life than what is there now?
Oh, it's a hard question to answer, actually. I don't know. I think. Well, there's that thing. There's that there's photo images of like heads of like statues on like in the sand on Mars, and yeah,
Makes you wonder how they got there.
yeah, because we haven't had, Earth hasn't had a, you know, well, as far as I know, hasn't had like a an event that would make debris go into out of our atmosphere.
Right, so that rule out the theory that was one of our heads, I guess you want to call them, faces.
Yeah, it does look like an Asian looking head statue. But can't really say for sure. There was also theories further on the Mars about like human like species that used to reside on Mars and had like a way of life similar to ours, but and that how it ended, no idea, and it's just a theory. A lot of people actually follow it, but nobody really knows the full answer.
Our buddy Kaz, the mailman, says that there's theories that debris from our planet is spread all over the cosmic meteoric collisions. Oh, from meteor collisions. Kaz, are you saying if a meteor hits Earth, that something from our planet just spreads out in the atmosphere?
But you could actually rule out, because to my knowledge there was no meteor showers or meteor collisions when in like ancient China, when they started building these statues. That's to my knowledge.
Yeah, something that would be big enough to
That was strangely arousing.
Yo, Nefer, thank you so much for the host, brother. No meteors that would be big enough to launch a giant head out to Mars.
Yeah.
Ooh. I know there are some theories. We haven't had a mass collision in over 12,000 years. Yeah, so that would... You would think that would rule out those heads on Mars being from our planet. So you'd have to wonder how they got there, if there's other life up there. There are some theories that Mars was a lot like our planet, and then something caused it to be like what it is now. So if you gotta think, if it was like our planet, you'd have to have some kind of life forms similar to ours, maybe, if not a human-like life form. So some people might suggest that there was a type of human species back on Mars, and that's their remains essentially.
Well, if you have seen the movie, the fifth movie, they show at the end the squirrel driving the spaceship into Mars, saying, and Mars was just like our planet. Yeah, actually, a lot of people and a lot of astronomers and astrophysicists, people and archaeologists actually think that's real. Like that could be a theory that something massively hit Mars to cause it to become dead, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not researched enough on the topic to have a firm opinion one way or the other, but I think it's very possible that Mars was essentially Earth before Earth, and I don't know if I want to say that somebody from Mars had to come to Earth to populate it, or if we're just a coincidence that we both are similar.
Yeah. Well,
but it is a fun theory to think about, like if there was some kind of human-like species on Mars that had to somehow have the technology to get to Earth and then start populating it.
Yeah. Well, that's also another theory where something happened to Mars, something hit it very bad to make it dead, and survivors of Mars came to Earth. That is another theory that a lot of people talk about as well, because there's the theory of Mars being almost identical to Earth is amazing, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they found that it's true. But they also, everybody just thinks that people from Mars came here, colonized it in a way, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really, really diving down the rabbit hole if travel to Earth, basically, and potentially be the first humans on Earth. Or you could argue that they're a completely different species that used to live there and they kind of maybe got wiped out while we were just completely separate from them and kind of growing up near their next door neighbors, I guess.
Yeah.
So you'd be arguing whether we're relatives of the so-called Martians or if we're just neighbors.
Yeah.
So we're in concurrence that Mars is in fact a planet. We've made it that far. So since it's a planet, there's at least a 1 in 9 chance that that there's life on it. You think there's a reason we're trying to find life there? I think it's very, very likely that there is life there. And I think that it's more likely that there's more life there before whatever happened to make it turn into the planet that we know it is. Because I don't think it was always this big red planet.
No, definitely not.
And you can see a lot of signs of either like water flow or ice flow. I don't rule out possibilities, but there's lots of factors. And you know, what a lot of people don't know is that the most similar part on Earth to Mars is actually in Antarctica. It's not in any of the deserts because the driest place in the world is in Antarctica. Go ahead.
This astronomer, there's a huge crater that goes for miles and miles and miles on Mars, and it looks like it was struck by like something like struck by lightning or something or like a solar flare. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. But people also believe that could be the case. Mars is what it is now because of a huge strike.
Yeah.
A huge strike from a solar flare or like a struck by lightning, even like a huge bolt of lightning.
Yeah, I think there's I'm not sure if it's the exact one that you're talking about, but I think there's a lot of craters basically on the planet that look like strikes from whether it's meteors, solar flares, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And some of them are large. I know there's one for sure that I think is like 3 or 4 times the size of the Grand Canyon. That life exists throughout the universe, distributed by meteorites, asteroids, comets, planetoids, and also by spacecraft in form of unintended contamination by microorganisms. That's interesting. That's the origin of the theory for Earth, is that the early on life forms for Earth came from something else outside of our planet. And you could say the same thing for Mars.
Yeah.
Another theory based on that, and I don't know if I would necessarily believe this, but just throw it out there. They're basically calling it seeding, where life gets traveled, like kind of just latches onto something and then goes to the planet. So what if we unintentionally brought life from Earth to Mars when we were exploring it with our robots? Like somehow microorganisms were attached on to our robots, and the life that we discover is actually just stuff that we sent there from Earth.
I don't think that is a likely one. Just because of the fact that the craters and everything on Mars and the water flow under it and all that is supposed to be like dated, like supposed to be that like dated back a long time ago, like before we had any technology whatsoever.
Do you think we had space technology like way back hundreds of years ago that got lost somehow? That maybe guys that knew the solar system as well as they did actually had some kind of way to look out there other than just a telescope?
There might be a possibility.
Their knowledge was well beyond what I would imagine somebody would have from back then.
Yeah. There is a theory that how they got the knowledge is there's said to be um, 48 pyramids in Earth that have a network of I wouldn't say knowledge. Well, in this case, yes, knowledge, and how the universe is and how everything pans out. And somebody could have, found these pyramids because people have a theory that it is like a network of how the world works, I guess, like a brain.
About like ancient Egypt had actually have skulls found where the skull is a lot more elongated than any human skulls, and it doesn't really make sense because it doesn't match up with other skulls that they found in the past. Like, there's no direct line to it, it's just a random outlier. There are hieroglyphics all over the pyramids of beings being here besides humans. Yeah, I think where did the ancient Mayans and Aztecs go? Aliens. Yeah, I think the two trains of thought are either people back then actually had interactions with what we would consider aliens, or they were just really high and that's what their imagination brought up. That was it would almost be like if, I don't know, you asked somebody to draw you a picture of just some new creature that they wanted to show you. So you have to decide if the hieroglyphics were them trying to actually be serious about telling a story, or if they're trying to make up a fiction novel, basically. It's definitely something that's fun to look into and kind of decipher what their drawings mean. But back a little bit more on track with our original idea here with the Mars and Antarctica connection here. I know that you wanted to talk about the Germans and the Americans going to Antarctica and a little bit of the history on that.
Well, after World War II, everybody thought that Hitler committed suicide, but they found no trace of his body or anything like that. There is a theory that the Germans found on Antarctica. There, under the surface, was one of the 48 pyramids I was talking about, and that it was able to have flowing water under there, green grass, and like warmth, pretty much. And Hitler went there after World War II, and the Americans were close, on the search for the same thing. And when Americans got there, the Germans had Germans and Americans had another like a small fight over the area.
When you mentioned that, it's actually not something that I really did research on in the past. Like, it was kind of new ground to me, but I made sure that I did some research on it, and it was really interesting. I mean, obviously we knew about Hitler supposedly committing suicide, but never finding proof of it, essentially.
Yeah.
Tony says, I thought the North Pole was the one where we weren't allowed to go to. Tony, there are I wouldn't say a lot of people in Antarctica, but there's a decent select few, but they haven't covered nearly all of the ground over there. It just makes it really difficult with temperatures being as low as they are there, and the terrain being hard to travel through. But the idea with the Antarctica, with Germany and the USA at the end of the World War, when Hitler supposedly killed himself, we don't have signs of it, and the theory is that the Germans kind of had an escape route to Antarctica on their U-boats, submarines, and then like 6 years later, USA went to Antarctica with a fleet of like 4,500 people. It's almost like there's cover-ups saying that it was kind of like an exploration, and then there's others that believe it was almost like a mini war or a battle, I guess. So do you think that we kind of fought over Antarctica? Or do you think USA found out that Hitler sent a crew to Antarctica, so we just went to finish the job, or?
Well, I believe that during World War II, Hitler's scientists, or a group of scientists, went to find an advantage for winning the war, and they came back and they went to Antarctica, found the green grass, flowing water, and like warmth in Antarctica because of that said pyramid that was close to that area. And when they went back to Hitler and told him, and after he quote unquote committed suicide, he and his scientists went to Antarctica, resided there, and found a way and tried to find a way to I would say get revenge. And then the Americans came. The Americans weren't far off the trail of the discovery of Antarctica, and when they went to Antarctica, there was Hitler already there, and at the end, bottom line, I believe that they did fight over it, and yeah.
Do you think Hitler's still alive today?
No, I don't believe so, due to the fact that there was I heard that around, I think it was the 50s or 60s, what I heard was that there was a shift in Antarctica which made the pyramid drop down more into closer to the Earth's core, and pretty just destroying the green grass and the flowing water and stuff like that down there.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I see. It was called New Schwabeland, I believe, is the part of Antarctica that they first went to, and there's also theories that parts of Antarctica are believed to be what Atlantis was, essentially.
yeah,
And maybe even the area that Hitler was trying to go to, or did go to, could be what people believe might have been Atlantis. Maybe not
like remnants.
maybe not what we see in the movies, but the same idea that it's this kind of forgotten land that's underwater, but it also could just be under ice, kind of like a cave almost.
Yeah.
But but I know about the pyramids there, or at least what people believe they're pyramids, and I think there's still an argument that there's pyramids in Antarctica, but most people blow them off saying that they're just mountains, but they're very strange shaped mountains. Of course, most of it's under ice, so it's hard to really get an idea for it.
Yeah. It does sound like BS, but you know, it is just a theory. Like, it could have been true, couldn't have been. But I believe it to an extent of how, because ice can preserve anything, like almost anything. Because recently they actually found, and actually in 2016 they found in Siberia they found a mammoth that was preserved in the ice, and when they cut it open, blood flowed out, like warm blood flowed out of the mammoth.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things in the ice that could be preserved. So I believe that the Americans, or the Germans, did find the so-called Atlantis to an extent, just because of the fact that ice and stuff like that can preserve and keep a lot of things hidden.
Well, it's a little part interesting to me that after World War II is over and everything, USA government essentially took a bunch of those Nazi scientists, and it just makes you wonder, like, what did they know and what are they hiding?
Yeah.
Could any of them have been on that voyage to Antarctica? It's even more of a rabbit hole you can jump down and kind of go from one theory to another. And they could all definitely have truths to them. It's believed the Germans did send a fleet to Antarctica, and it's 100% confirmed, in my opinion, that USA sent a fleet of one of their largest ones, like, to date back then. It was I can't remember the exact number of ships, but there's a lot of ships, and somewhere in the 4,000 to 5,000 range, soldiers essentially went to Antarctica, and there's not a lot of confirmed textbook theories on what actually happened there. So they told us, yeah, we did go there, but we're not going to exactly tell you what happened.
Well, exactly. No, well, the government obviously doesn't want people going to, like, adventuring and not necessarily stealing what they found, but publicizing it, I guess, like, further in depth.
Yes, I think there's just a lot of the government not showing us everything that they did, so it opens up the possibility to almost anything. You kind of just put a point from the US in Antarctica and a point from Germany in Antarctica, and you have to kind of piece together what happened. But it is known that there's a lot of like caves in the ice and everything that, if they're properly prepared, they could definitely survive in. And but like you were saying, it could potentially have the green grass and water flowing before I think the 50s or 60s, when it collapsed essentially.
Really, what I've found out is, if you find a theory and it doesn't have any like references, or like little to none references, it's most likely just bogus. But I found that if there's like a lot of references, like in a textbook, like there's pages and pages and pages of references. That's really how I look at it, and what I've found out, how a theory could be real or couldn't be.
Yeah, it's definitely with all the internet access we have, we definitely have to dig deep into who's writing what information to get a better idea of if it's bogus or if it's got some backing to it. It makes me also wonder, back in World War II, we had both, and that was like the 1940s and 50s, we had both Germany and the USA go to Antarctica and be successful, essentially, but we haven't produced more information on all of Antarctica yet with all the technology we have today. Like 70 years later, we don't have that much more exploration, in my opinion. I feel like we should be a lot further along, or maybe we are further along and they just haven't released the information yet.
What they could have found, like American scientists could have ventured into Antarctica, found potential signs, and reported back, and couldn't be allowed to be shared to the public.
Yeah, I think I want to believe that side of it because that makes it more fun and more interesting. And I think it's very, very possible that there's something in Antarctica that the government doesn't want us civilians to know everything about.
Yeah.
And you can definitely just tie the pyramids into that. I mean, most things to do with pyramids are just blown off as conspiracy theories, but there could be a lot of truth behind them.
Yeah, 100%. There's another one that we could touch on. The possibility of there's a possibility of human brains being put into mechanic, like robotic made people, and have the same same feelings and personalities, and or similar personalities to an actual human.
Yes, I love humanoids and robots.
There's actually like you can go to like school for it. My grandmother's friend's daughter is in university, studying how it all works and how to make how to produce, I should say, these humanoid creatures, just humanoids.
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology that we're seeing out, like simple things, Alexa, stuff like that, I think that's like dummied down version of the technology that the scientists and the government knows how to make. And I'm sure that there's essentially robots that are hidden almost, or at least just not shown to the public. I really enjoy listening to Elon Musk talk about basically, see, I'm gonna sound like an idiot because I'm not as smart as Elon Musk, but basically joining together humans and robots, because the negative Nancy way to look at it is that if we don't join them, then they're just gonna take over. So our best option is to kind of become these humanoid, part human, part robot people instead of having the robots take over our society.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll have, if we don't already have technology to successfully do it, I think we'll have it easily within the next 10 years.
Oh, 100%. Like,
I agree that people would freak out if they're just given robots in their house or just anywhere instead of these dummy down versions called Alexa and Siri and stuff like that.
yeah,
I think the big conspiracies on it are what the intentions are behind them hiding it. If the government's hiding it for the for our good because they know that we'd freak out and it'd be worse to do it, or if they're hiding it because it's their dirty little secret that they have these weaponized robots that they could have at any moment. eh, and with how like they have those robots that they have shown a bit where they like actively learn and gain information and then show you what they've learned, and that's like a really slippery slope that this robot's gonna become smarter than us and it won't need us to be that smart.
there is a potential that these humanoids that have a human brain still like have the potential to have that knowledge of.
Yeah, it'll be better for us if these super smart creatures still have some human emotions, so they don't just go on a rampage essentially.
Yeah.
And Thanos us.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like a robot that smart would essentially be like a Thanos, because like the thinking behind him that it's gonna save more people in the long run if he takes out half the people now. So
Yeah.
like I feel like a robot without human emotions would do the exact same thing and have the same thought process.
So they have the potential, or if not a full potential, of handling an emotional encounter or a physical encounter without freaking out, or I'm gonna wipe out half the planet because you said something about me.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I hope whoever is working on it is a lot smarter than me and has the answers to at least keep it controlled until we have a better idea of how to use it, how to work with it. It's definitely something that could get crazy. I was gone for 10 minutes. What did I miss? Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I think he caught most of the Antarctica talks, but we started talking about humanoids and robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was better with the technology so I could have you up here with me, but I like how this is going so far. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, there you are. You an eagle or a serpent? Oh my gosh. I'd like to sprout my wings and fly. That I'd love to be able to just fly away. That's some deep shit. Oh my god. Anything more you want to go on about Govio?
No, that's pretty much all that I wanted to share, wanted to express.
Awesome, man. Hey, hit me with your pitch. Let everybody know. Sell yourself. Go ahead and plug everything in you want to plug. All your ads, Twitch, whatever. And if there's anything.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for having me. It was awesome. If you guys want to go follow me on Twitter, Twitch, pretty much anywhere, it's Govio HD. I would actually about half an hour after this, I'm gonna get something to eat and then hop on streaming. So if you want to go follow me, I'll be streaming some Call of Duty World League. Yeah. Shout out to my grandma who got me into this kind of stuff.
Love that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all.
Awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for being on and being number one. Gonna be in the podcast history books. And yeah, I'm excited for your stream later. Get something delicious to eat. And I'm sure I'll probably try to get you back on another time after I get this thing handled. Much love, brother. Guys, that was really fun. I definitely have to get better. Maybe get a green screen up so I can look proper behind this desk. But I had a lot of fun talking about Mars, Antarctica conspiracy, a little bit of aliens, because, I mean, come on. You can't talk about conspiracies without aliens coming in. And humanoids. So that was a really fun time. I'm very thankful for everybody that was in here. And you can always hit me up and let me know any conspiracies that you want to hear, or if you want to come on the show and talk to me face to face with the conspiracies, that would be amazing. You can see my links all up there. Check me out on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. Talk to me. I'll talk back. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Podspiracy #1. We are going to bring you at least one Podspiracy every week.